chat with our friend Dana Perino of Fox News. You all know her. She's got a book that just came out this week. I wish someone had told me the best advice for building a great career and a meaningful life, and perhaps we'll even get her to weigh in on flutes versus fifes and other fascinating conversations today on the show. Dana, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, I thought you were having me on to talk about the NFL draft.
Oh, no, that's my, Dana, that's my area of expertise. Maybe you and I can do a whole segment where we discuss the draft, because Clay had to tell me that this was even happening, so I had zero idea.
Actually,
but now,
I love the idea. Dana reads sports is one of my favorite parts of Fox News. I love the idea of Dana and Buck try to figure out sports-related issues. Like you guys just, with no help, just come together and try to determine some sports-related conclusion.
I got to tell you,
So
I
we can-
really loved the I love watching the NFL draft because I like watching all the people like in the families and like their excitement. I think that's so fun. And live tweeting the draft is one of my favorite things to do, so I'm going to make sure I'm doing that tonight. Like who wouldn't want to live in Arizona? That sounds fun. They got cute uniforms too.
yes, I would just tell you, I've actually never seen the draft, so I think we've established that Dana's knowledge, Clay, of this
Exceeds yours.
mine substantially. I've never watched an NFL draft in my life, so maybe tonight will be my first time. Dana, tell us about the book a little bit here. I mean, you've had a huge career. You were White House press secretary under Bush. Now you're at the Fox, doing all this amazing stuff. What's the book telling everybody out there?
So it's called I Wish Someone Had Told Me, the best advice for building a great career and a meaningful life. And I'd done a book before called Everything Will Be Okay. And actually, I remember you all had just started your show together. And when that book came out, you had me on, and it was such a fun conversation. I remember exactly where I was standing and where we did that. And that book was really targeted to young women going through their quarter-life crisis. This book is post-COVID, and it is not geared just to young women. I made it much more broad-based, and also because I have advanced in years since when I left the White House. A lot of people that I mentored back then are still coming to me for advice, and they've become executives, moms and dads. They are looking for the next step in their life. They're making big career transitions. And so I realized I didn't have all the answers myself. I interviewed over 40 people, many of the people here at Fox News, and like Gutfeld, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, Sandra Smith, Jimmy Fallon, you name it, they're in here. But also like my college roommate, my husband, and Dierks Bentley, that's what I was thinking of. Of course, I was thinking of Nashville. I'm thinking Clay Travis, Nashville, Dierks Bentley. To talk to them, everything from how to start, how to get your foot in the door, how to get a promotion, how to be intentional with your time and a work-life balance. And I know, Buck, you're a new dad, and I'm sure all of this is I'm sure you'll be able to write a book of advice for dads anytime soon.
I would love that. But I have to tell you, Dana, as I'm talking to you, it's always reassuring when I find out that my wife is actually listening to the show. And she texted me and says, make sure you tell Dana that I got a lot out of her book, Everything Will Be Okay. So Carrie Sexton is a fan of book one and now will be a fan of your most recent book, I am sure.
Your wife is so lovely. Well, I love hearing that. And one thing I did find out, guys, is when Everything Will Be Okay came out, it was a big success. Everybody loved it. But there were younger guys, especially around here at Fox, who were like, what about one for us? And there's an insatiable need of young people who they really want to be successful. And they're just looking for us to give them the blueprint. And we don't have the answers, of course. One of the best things that I've learned and that I could pass on is that I really worried away my 20s for no reason. I was so trying to plan out my life. And everything that happened great in my life is not because I planned it. And if you are an educated American, you already won life's great lottery. And so all you have to decide is how hard do you want to work.
I think that's so well said, and thanks for coming on, Dana. I had a professor at Vanderbilt Law School, Larry Soderquist, who has since passed, but he was an incredible business professor. And his big thing to us when we were in law school, and I'm sure there's some kids out there that are going to grad school or you're going to take the bar exam soon coming up this summer, and he said, you are already set. He said, you guys have done the hard work of getting into law school. He said, the question you have to decide going forward with your legal careers is how do you want to work this law degree? He said, but you're never going to be homeless. You're never going to be hungry. The big concerns in life you have taken care of, and you should think about that more than you do, all of you. And I thought that perspective was super important, and I think it reflects upon what you said, where there are a lot of kids out there in their 20s. They get out of school, they get out of grad school, they have these quarter-life crises. I had one myself, and they wonder what else is out there. And I think this is an important lesson that you're trying to teach them, is that, one, you're still going to be trying to figure out a lot of things when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Nobody has all the answers, but you're probably going to be okay.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my favorite mentors was President Bush. And I remember he would talk about the importance of not being so risk averse, that America was built on people willing to take a risk and to be pioneers. Yeah. And I think about Elon Musk, right? Like, he takes risks all the time, like landing rockets on chopsticks. But because he was willing to take a risk, you can get great reward. And I remember I was really hesitant to start my own business after I left the White House because I had a million reasons that were stupid, really, looking back. And the president said to me, ask yourself this: what is the worst thing that could happen to you if it fails? So I sort of hemmed and hawed for a minute, and he said, so you're telling me the worst thing that could happen to you, an educated American woman who was the White House press secretary, starts her own business, say it fails, and the worst thing you have to do is go back and work for another PR firm? That's the worst thing? And he said, I'm not persuaded by that. And that's really helpful to me. I learned from Dr. Samantha Boardman, when people are dealing with anxiety, and of course we all do, and also we're surrounded by young people who have a lot of it. You ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen, and what's the best thing that could happen? And usually what happens is somewhere in the middle, and it can calm you down pretty quickly.
Yes, I think there's an old quote from one of the great Stoics that we suffer more in imagination than reality. It might have been Seneca, or it's one of them. So it's a version, Dana's updating it for the 21st century, but this is very
true. Believe it
true.
or not,
People
Jesse Waters, when I interviewed him for this book, Jesse Waters talks about the Stoics as well in this book.
Well, Jesse Waters and I are apparently brothers from another mother. I had no idea. Fun fact, Jesse doesn't even know this, but maybe he was in, I think it was like a English 101 class at Trinity College with my older brother at one point, to give you a sense of what a small world it was. Then Mason transferred, went to a different school. But yes,
Mason
Jesse and I have
give me the tea.
Yeah, Jesse and I have been ships passing the night. Mason assures me he might have popped his collar, but he was a very nice guy. But yes, we've got Dana Perino with us right now, and she's got a new book out, which you guys should all check out. And her books have been huge successes up to this point. So, what's if you're looking now for the people out there who are going to be grabbing this book, if there's one thing that you want them to really take out of it today, or rather one thing that they would read and you hope that they could apply to their lives as soon as possible, Dana, what would that be?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of it, and especially what I'm hoping is that when people read this, they will realize they don't need to worry as much. One of the reasons that you seek out a book like this is because you're trying to get some answers to things that are bothering you. So I'm hoping that that is true, but I would also pass on this advice. Most of the mentees that come to see me, they are definitely interested in professional guidance, but they also are looking for meaningful personal lives. They would love to meet somebody. They want to get married. They want to have families, and they want to find a work-life balance that will allow them to have a great, wonderful, meaningful life. And my experience was unusual. I met my husband on an airplane 28 years ago, and there's a million reasons why we might not have met or that we could have talked ourselves out of it. But choosing to be loved is not a career-limiting decision. It actually made all the difference for me, and I'm hoping that young people can take that away and realize that investing in yourself in a commitment is a great way to enhance your life and your career.
I gotta reverse for a second here. Take us into this. This is a great story of romance. You met your husband on a plane. Like, what was the first move here? Did he spill his peanuts or his seltzer in your lap? Like, how did he get this going?
Well, okay, so it was 1997, so let's go in the way, way back machine. Nobody had phones. Nobody had AirPods, okay? So I was carrying a book. I was working for a congressman. I was coming back from Denver, going Denver, Chicago, Chicago, D.C. and I was on an American Airlines flight. I almost missed the plane because it was my first time driving out to the new Denver International Airport, which might as well be in Kansas. It's so far away.
That's accurate.
And
yes.
So the last two people to get on the plane were myself and this guy. And I sat down in the window seat, and he said, "Would you like me to put your bag up above?" British accent.
Strong
I thought it
move.
was cute.
Strong move.
Yeah, accents are helpful. No wedding ring. Handsome. And he had a book called The Tailor of Panama by John le Carre. I said, do you like that book? So we started talking about books, and for 2.5 hours, we talked for a long time. I remember asking him, what do people in Europe think about Bill Clinton? And he said, they think he's a clown. And I was like, oh, wow, we're going to get along great. But then I remember looking out the window and saying a prayer to God that I know I asked you to help me find someone, but he's much older than me. He lives in England. My career's on the right track. I didn't think I would meet somebody on an airplane, but I couldn't eat, sleep, drink, concentrate, anything after I met him. And about 6 weeks later, we had our first date when he was back in the States in New Orleans. And 6 months later, I moved to England 28 years ago.
What was the reaction when you told people, I'm just kind of curious, hey, I'm going to move to England. I met a guy on an airplane.
Okay, so you hit the nail on the head of one of the reasons I wrote the book, because one of the things I worried about in my 20s was, how am I going to get a job? How will I succeed? How will I pay my bills? Then, how am I going to meet somebody? How am I going to meet somebody? Then, what are people going to think about me for wanting to be with this man who is much older than me, lives in England, and that I'm leaving my job and career to go live in England, and who knows what's going to happen to me?
Yep.
And I worried myself to death. And a woman, a family friend, said, don't give up on this chance to be loved. And
can I throw something in there, Dana?
Yeah.
One superpower that I've learned is to not care what people think who don't matter to you.
I know,
You know what I
but
mean?
you know what is so interesting is that we have to learn this lesson over and over again. Because your parents teach you that when you're young, or maybe you learn it in Sunday school or from a teacher or from other friends. And all of these young people are always thinking about what others are thinking about them and how they're being judged. And what I remind them is that actually we all just think about ourselves all the time. Nobody has time to think about you.
And by the way, especially in a social media age, people are even more obsessed about how they're being perceived than they would have been in the past. Quick question for you.
Wait, can I ask her a question?
Yeah.
Dana, do you think that women, I'm putting you on the hot seat a little bit here. Everybody loves Dana Perino. Everyone's going to love this book. You're on the hot seat now. Do women in this era care too much about men's height?
Gosh, I am barely, I'm not even quite 5'1". So even Gutfeld is a little tall to me. So just kidding. He is not tall to me. Do women care too much about height? I mean, maybe. I mean, I know that it's sort of awkward. It depends. Like, you don't see a lot of
How tall's your
women who are
husband,
taller
Dana?
than
How
men.
tall's your husband? Let's just go through this.
I would say 5'10".
Okay, this is he's tall, but not you didn't date you're not a 5'1" lady who married a 6'5" guy. We've had some conversations on the show recently about this.
He's tall for someone from Scotland. How about that?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's just a shot at Scottish men, by the way, that I wouldn't have
that's
tall
just
for
a
someone
fact.
from Scottish men are short. Is this true?
Yeah. Yeah.
The book, by the way, is fabulous. I have met her husband. He is fabulous. Dana has taken us out.
I have to say, he would probably
Songwriter
get canceled
nights.
if he had a radio show.
He is great. He is fantastic. Well, hey, by the way, you're listening to a guy who may get canceled at any moment. No idea what might happen from 1 second to the next.
We got you.
The book is I Wish Someone Had Told Me.
Go ahead.
And Dana Perino, go buy it. You're going to like it. Dana, we appreciate the time. You do fantastic work.
I love
Tell
you guys.
Bill we said
Thanks
hi.
so much.
Thank you. Same to you. Clay, I was struck by something as we're talking to Dana, who it is true. Everybody, my wife loves Dana. Everybody loves Dana. Her book is fantastic. I'm sure the last book was fantastic. I have a book title for you for your next book because we know the topic. I have a title for you. Do you want me to tell you the title now?
Yeah,
I
want to hear your title when we come back. We've got a title for the book, and it's probably not going to surprise you, but I'm curious if your title is somewhat similar to the title we've got an idea of.
Now that you're telling me this, I feel like it could be, but you have, just to be clear, Clay has not told me the title of his forthcoming book. I have a title in mind for him, and I think some of you are really going to like it. So that's what we call a tease in the business.
When
and,
you
know,
switch, is it me or you who's supposed to read?
No, it's me. It's me.
Oh, I blew it. Sorry, you read.
The leaf blowers are throwing you off,
I
buddy.
know.
You need some.
The leaf blowers just track me everywhere. I hate those guys.
Look, this my family's coming down because now we got my grandmother on for my child, my mom, my dad, they're all coming down this weekend, and you know what we're doing? A steak feast Saturday night, courtesy of Good Ranchers. Carrie and I have already picked out the cuts of meat that we're going to be serving. I got an additional, because there's going to be a whole bunch. My brothers, my sister-in-law, my mom, my dad, my sister. You know, we got a whole squad here. How do you feed a whole squad? A Good Ranchers box, everybody. We've got the meats cut. We've got the meats picked out, rather. They're going to be delicious because I eat Good Rancher stuff all the time, so I know it's top quality. Makes it so easy for me. I even got an extra sous vide bucket. That's how much Good Ranchers meat I'm going to be making this weekend. Try Good Ranchers yourself. Support American ranchers in the process. You're going to love the meat, the chicken, the pork, the fish. They've got all kinds of great stuff, and they ship it all right to you in a box with just the right amount of dry ice, careful packaging to keep those products frozen and ready to enjoy just how you like it. When you buy from Good Ranchers, you're supporting family farms and keep them thriving. I'll post some photos and video and stuff of the amazing steaks I'm going to be cooking up this weekend. Papa Speed, my dad, he's going to love it. He's a red meat man. Enter my name, Buck, when you go to goodranchers.com. Enter my name, Buck, and you'll receive free bacon, ground beef, chicken nuggets, or salmon for a year and $40 off. Goodranchers.com. Enter my name, Buck, as your promo code. $40 off, plus free bacon, ground beef, chicken nuggets, or salmon for a year.